Awesome. So this is the CI/CD UX meeting for August 25th, 2021. We have a couple of FYI items and read only. Please check them out. And I also want to voice an announcement I made yesterday during the UX Weekly. We made some updates to the Ux Scorecard process that, of course, I didn't link here. But we pretty much removed the heuristics table. So before you had to go through the process while evaluating and rate every single aspect of the experience, right? So if this button meets heuristic ABC and then score that, it was too much. And we removed that to match the changes that we're going to propose for the competitor evaluation. So I'm going to link here the merge requests for you to see. So I think, well, the both of you, right, are working on that KR, Gina and Daniel, for the heuristic evaluation. So just keep in mind, it's one step less that you have to do. So it's a good change, right? And Gina, I have a comment. Do you want to voice that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I ended up using it purely because I haven't done one of those exercises before and I wanted to learn kind of how the heuristics fit in. And Becca had opened up this issue that is about possibly keeping somewhat of the heuristics in the score, at least the scoring process. And I just wanted to say that I do, like, I'm not really sure how we would score it if we don't have the heuristics. I feel like it would be very based on your own opinion of the process. So I was wondering if we will keep any instructions in using heuristics in the way that we're scoring. Maybe not the spreadsheet, but something like that. Hi, Anna, you're on mute.
Of course I am. I was saying that you're still going to grade the experience, but as a whole, you're still going to use the rubric grading to rate that the whole scorecard. So is this the merge request you linked here, right? To the issue that Becca opened. I think it's a good discussion. It's valid, but the idea is that you don't have to make that scorecard process so complex, right? That's also why we removed and we clarified when to do the heuristic versus when to do the a testing, right? Or just an interview. It's not a testing, sorry, interview with the some internal, external customers. But thanks for the heads up. I haven't seen this yet. I think it's a good conversation to have.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, for me, it gets a little bit complicated because the merge request, the grading rubric is in a Google spreadsheet. So the merge request is not necessarily editing it. But if I understood it correctly, the idea is that we should go over each one of these heuristics, the visibility of system status, user control and freedom, etc., for the whole experience, not for each specific point that we go through.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. Yeah, that makes more sense. It was a lot indeed.
And I'll tell you what, I did I think I did one of the first scorecards when we came up with this framework, and it used to be overly complicated. So in a way, I'm glad that you don't have to go through that process every time, because it takes up so much time as well to set things up, work on the template, rate everything. And then when you already have, for example, you know that an experience is going to be an F, right? It's just double the effort to score that experience. And I think especially now that we are going to some of these evaluations with a focus on usability or onboarding new users, right? So you have some of the heuristics in mind. I would say that, yeah, our top priority, or that you're really targeting during that scorecard. But let's see what the discussion with Becca, how that will evolve. Yeah, but thanks for asking. Any other questions before we jump to the next items? No? All right. Then over to Will. So welcome, Will. First time in our team call.
Thanks. Happy to be here. and appreciate the fun tour that we got. That was pretty exciting. Makes me excited to own a house eventually. I'm still in an apartment. So in terms of my talking point, one of the first projects that I picked up when I started a couple weeks ago at GitLab was something with Daniel and Kevin for the release group. So they wanted to understand kind of why users that are currently using Verify are not using release. So we built out a survey for that. Kevin took like a first stab at it. And then I've built it out in a Qualtrics version. So you're welcome to try out that link and give any feedback around it. I think Kevin's actually coming back from being out of office tomorrow. So certainly welcome any feedback in the meantime. And then hopefully we'll push it out pretty soon. And I'm looking a little bit at the comments. Yes, we do have an issue. So I will pop that in. So I will find that right now. Let's see. Sorry, a little bit disorganized right now. I think it is issue number 1509.
In the research project?
Yes.
Mm.
Thanks. Appreciate you adding that. So we're trying to do that survey to identify some numbers behind kind of what systems people are using for release, if they're not using GitLab, why, kind of like we kind of brainstorm some of the reasons potentially why users might use other types of systems instead of GitLab. So we included that in the survey as well. So we can at least get an idea of what's out there. And then we're going to do some follow-up interviews as well. So once people have completed the survey and qualify for interviews, there will be a portion where they can specify if they would like to participate in interviews. So we'll funnel them into those and get some additional feedback where we can really dive deep on that particular topic.
Thanks for sharing, Will.
Yeah, any other comments or questions?
I have a comment / question. I wonder how, let me think of the word, the reach for this research initiative, this survey, how different it is from the research that we did a year ago about understanding why customers were not deploying with GitLab. And I linked here the research, but also the opportunity canvas that there was a solution validation effort. So I was wondering if it's a follow-up of this this validation, or if you're looking at it from a different perspective, or for example, looking at a different business case.
So good question. I'm not really familiar with the issue. I may have seen this opportunity canvas before. I know I kind of looked over a couple before diving into this project. Maybe Daniel, you can chime in since I think you're familiar with some of this work.
Yeah, so this has been a push from Kevin, but as far as I know, it's two points that we want to reinforce with this research on top of the previous one. One of them is we know that customers are not using GitLab, and we have some pointers that explain why, but we also want to have more visibility on what they are using instead, right? So understand more the competitive landscape and then connect what we know about customers today to which features they are using in these other products and why. And then the second is an ask more from the business side as well to understand why GitLab users are using verify and what are the reasons why they stop at verify and don't use release, or maybe they're using verify features to release and not necessarily using the dedicated release features, is also to understand that.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, thanks, Daniel, for explaining a little bit. Because I was a bit worried. Are we redoing something that we researched already like a year ago?
To be honest, I think there's a little bit of overlap to make sure that this iteration of the team also builds the knowledge around that, but also pointing to things that the previous research started to uncover but didn't go far enough to complement it.
Yeah, and I think also if I look at release a year ago, right, and how we were expanding the solutions, mainly focused on just the ability to create releases with GitLab and explore deployments as the next step, but something that I was still a bit further. Well, I think now it's where we were supposed to be, right? But we had different priorities for release. So yeah, what you say that Daniel, understanding not only why they're not deploying, it's too complex and they just don't know that they can deploy with GitLab, but what are they doing then? That's a really great way to frame the problem. So but thanks for the insights.
Excited about this research and what will come out of it.
Awesome. And then I think you're next, Daniel.
Yes, so this is a quick share on research as well. Let me find the tab and share my screen. Yeah. So yeah, so this is just a quick share on the problem validation we're doing for environments. We currently have a banner on the environments page inviting users to reply to a survey, and it's going really well. We have over 100 responses already, which was more or less what I was expecting to have in order to close the research. But Hayana left a really good comment poking a hole in the process, because we don't really have a lot of responses from large enterprise customers. And then it dawned on me that's likely because the banner is only on the SaaS version that has, I would say, less of the bigger customers that are also on self-managed. So from that, we started a conversation and involved Caitlin as well from research coordination. So we're gonna also, we're gonna also push the survey to customers in first look, larger customers, to see if we can balance out the pool of responses a little bit. So the plan is to run this additional time of the survey until the next week, when I'll be back from out of office. And then at that point, if we have a good pool of responses, there's more balanced, great. If we don't, then we'll wrap it up anyway, and then contact these larger customers directly, some of them that already replied, some of them from first look, to have some interviews. Maybe there can be some overlap between, sorry, one moment. Some overlap between the questions you would ask as a follow-up for the deployments and this one. So let's think on that later.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good suggestion.
And Daniel, kind of sidebar, do we know if we can even, in the future, right, when we're talking about using that same broadcast message component to get users to participate or reply to the surveys, do we know if we can roll this out to the enterprise customers that are using the self-hosted versions of GitLab? Is that even feasible? Or is it always going to be something that, yeah, we have to reach out to them in a different way through first look or directly, etc.?
We can. It turned out that the timing where DMR went live was between releases, but the next code freeze for the next self-managed version is on the 16th of September. So if we still have the banner there by 16th of September, it will be rolled out to self-managed customers, which would actually be a problem because then it gives us like 1 month with the banner there until we're able to actually remove it. So I would love to have a more practical way to add and remove this. I also mentioned in the thread that we could have wrapped the banner in a feature flag that would have helped, because then we will be able to turn on and off for SaaS customers. But the ideal solution in my view would be to have some sort of like Hotjar-like script that it's everywhere in GitLab, and then you can configure elsewhere, and then it adds the banner dynamically without actually having to open an MR and update the code. There is a discussion about that for merge requests. Pedro is trying to add a banner in merge requests to do exactly this, but it's so far it's also an ad hoc solution. Like I added on the environments page, they want to add on the merge request page. So there is an opportunity for a more higher level collaboration here to make this process easier. Because for how simple it is of an initiative, it was quite a bit of work. The EMR took a while to be closed, and now like it's another coordination to remove it again. So it could definitely be made easier.
Yeah, I think you touched on a great point. It's just so much work for such a a small, not small research itself, but what we are showing to the users. So I think it's also good for us to consider in the future, looking at who do we want to target. Maybe using these banners directly on the interface is not better. It's not the best solution, but it's a good thing that you went through that process, and now we know how painful it is. So thank you.
No problem.
I will read Nadia's points real quick. She's participating in Sync, both Nadia and Vitika. So Nadia is working on a couple of issues related to jobs in the pipeline graphs. So she linked here to design issues related to retrying failed jobs in downstream pipelines and also retrying manual jobs in variables. So please read her note here. If there's anything that you think will be interesting or you have questions, leave the comment, say Sync, so she can follow up when she's back. And also Vitika, she documented the empty states for pipeline execution and identified some of the gaps. Both Vitika and Nadia were doing, were helping out with this KR for pajamas. So if you open the issues, it's a foundations KR where the team is reviewing the 4 empty states for pajamas and evaluating, looking at learnability of the features. So similar to what we did for merge requests, they're going to come up with recommendations, and then we're going to pajamas, feed that information, and then do the redesign or polish the empty states in each stage group. So Vitika, shout out to Gina. Appreciate your participation and perspective addition on this issue. So thank you, Gina, for helping out. And there's also a read-only about a UX scorecard on enterprise management. So in heuristic evaluation. So leave your questions in the doc, right? Or do you ever have any comments now? We still have some time if you want to discuss one of these points. Otherwise, I'll move to the next. All right.
Well, I had something.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for the read-only, it looks like there's supposed to be a link to a YouTube video.
Oh yeah, that was
that's
me.
going to be added later.
Sorry about that. That was me.
No worries.
Let me see if I can grab that link. It's in the UX scorecard issue too. Let me just grab it. I just did, this is my first walkthrough that I did, so hopefully it's good. And
I think I read Gina's point thinking it was Vitika's point, didn't I?
yeah, but they overlap, so
okay,
it makes sense.
So Gina, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. No, it's all right. It's actually a good segue because I'm working with Vitika on this specific issue that I have at first here. So I'll just share my screen. Okay. So this is something that I'm shadowing Vitika on. so I can learn more about like picking up a design issue and how to go through that. And it's about displaying usage of macOS minutes in the usage quotas page. So just to give some context around what the current experience is, when you're looking at a project today, and then you want to see the usage quotas from there, you can see how much of the pipelines usage you've used, and that is tracked through CI minutes. So I think that correlates to just how many minutes the pipeline is running for. And today we're using one metric. So all of, whether you're on a Mac or like a Linux operating system, they're all merged into the same category, I guess. So this right now, like depending on if you have a limit for the number of minutes you could use, you would either see a limit, like a number, or unlimited. Most of us will have unlimited on our like GDK instance if you have that running. So this was to specifically split these minutes up into macOS and Linux now. And Vitika and I met together and just chatted synchronously and came up with this solution where we're now copying actually the same design pattern that's used on the storage tab to show two different like values in that larger value. And so we just use the same thing. We're having the total minutes and then the, Linux and Mac OS here. And then for this, we're not going to change anything with the progress bar. That's just showing the percentage of the total that's being used. But what I did do was I created this follow-up issue. If we wanted to, it's a UI polish issue to be able to show the two different types within that graph. And we kind of already do that on on our project page when we're showing the different languages that are being used with code, which I screenshotted here. So we could just like reuse that same pattern. But yeah, that's what we have so far. Is there any feedback or anything? And if there's any areas that this touches that maybe we haven't thought about, that would be nice to know too, if you have thoughts.
Thinking of the component, Gina, this progress bar that you showed here, is this, do you know, or have you discussed with Vitika, if this is a reusable component that we have, I don't know, in Vue, or if it's in GitLab UI, or even if it...
Like if the usage bar thing there is reusable?
Yeah, or just the core, of the component itself.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I have seen other instances where we're using a similar pattern, but I don't know if it's actually like the same reusable component or not.
Okay, I linked here in the agenda the link to the progress bar component in Pajamas, and you can have a look later. I think that it's built, but it's not in use. It's not in production. So just keep that in mind. If it's I know it's a follow-up issue, but if it's something that, you want to polish or you want to reuse from a different product area, you might trigger a design system issue, right? To improve that component before it's pushed to production.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Thanks for linking that. Stop my sharing. Well, feel free to like comment on that issue. I linked it in there. Working with Vitika has been great. And yeah, she left that comment about working with me. And then, I have some read-only stuff there just about the Ux Scorecard. Yeah.
So, mine is a heads up. So Katie, the new product designer for Package, is going to join a bit earlier. So a week early, actually. So next Monday will be her first day, the 30th. My goodness, it's almost September, 30th of August. And she's located in New Zealand, so not a lot of overlap for most of us. But make sure that you try to schedule a coffee chat and say hello. Nadia will be her UX buddy. So just similar to what the Vitika and Gina are doing today, she will be helping me onboard Katie, going through the UX processes, and also helping her with a similar exercise, the scorecard exercise that Gina is doing today. We're going to do that for package. And if you have any questions about Katie or her role or anything, just let me know. We can chat async. We are done. I think this is the first time we're actually done with the agenda. And what do we do with this minutes, right? So maybe Gina, you want to talk about the cool stuff, the item you added here to the agenda?
Yeah, sure. I had mentioned to you all that I was working with Boston high schoolers this summer, and I was running a design workshop with an old coworker, and I ended up writing a blog about it. If you're interested, it's pretty long, so, but it was really fun. And I just talked about some of the things that we did for the workshop and how to run something like that in a virtual world, which was really different. And then if anyone's interested, the woman's name is Mary that I was working with. Mary and I were going to talk about trying to get others involved in things like that. So if anyone is interested in maybe helping out with something like that in the future, let me know, because I think it's really fun and it's really rewarding, and it really doesn't take like a ton of work to prep for or anything. So yeah, if you're interested, let me know.
Gina, can you tell us a little bit about what this is and what are you doing exactly? Just so we understand a bit better.
Yeah, of course. So the program itself is around Boston public high schools, and the students who are in this specific one were actually, what was it called? What's it called when you're a student and you go to you're like working at a company?
An intern?
Yes, Jesus, sorry, couldn't think of words. So they were interning at two of the biggest hospitals in Massachusetts, and they were doing that for the entire summer, and they had these electives to pick from during that internship. And one of them was this design and technology, but there was a bunch of other ones like coding, more about business, stuff like that. And so what we did is, Mary is really like involved in these volunteering opportunities. And so we teamed up with this organization called PIC. It's like a PIC program is what it's called. And that's for Boston high school students who don't usually have opportunities to do stuff like this, would be able to get internships and then learn more about UX or whatever it happens to be. So there are more internships like this hospital one that's going on, but we've had, like, for example, we've run just workshops with high school students just during their class in general that have also been virtual. So yeah, it's centered around Boston high school students who don't usually have the opportunity to do things like this outside of their school life, I guess.
That's awesome. And I added here a couple of links that I know in the handbook about how GitLab can support this type of initiatives. I'm not sure if you already thought about reaching out to people ops or to diversity inclusion folks. There is also a section somewhere in the handbook that if you are, participating or are supporting this type of programs, you can add it there, and to also make it, highlight it for other members of the company if they also want to join and understand more. So I linked here, you can have a look.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful.
Yeah, there was a Slack thread today. Leon from the diversity and inclusion group created a sheet to list organizations. So maybe you can add yours there and then start this conversation.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun, or I think it's fun, and it's very rewarding. So it's nice.
I know that Vitika is also, if she hasn't started yet, we're going to start something in her local university, a local college. Then both Vitika and Gina are really involved with the design community. So that's really awesome. Please, Gina, bring those insights. I think they are, it's also good. not to just give back to the community, but also to see how, you are applying, your expertise outside the office. And so thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
Anything else? Then if not, let's go back to to our lives. Thanks for joining. It's good to see you, Will and Gina. I'll try to make this synchronous meetings happen more often. I know that now with now a team member in New Zealand, it might become even a bigger challenge. But please let me know how I can make a set up, right, our team meetings, but also our rituals to be more friendly to your time zones. So just reach out. So
Good.
see you later.
Good day, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.